I've been doing a lot of baking since lockdown started, and it's not something I always get the time to do at the restaurant, because obviously we have a pastry team of 3 full-timers who take care of all of that side of things. So once we've designed an afternoon tea, they go into production and away they go. But it's been lovely for me to have time and be able to spoil Helen and Harry at home. So probably the last couple of weeks we've done a couple of versions of the classic scone. To me, everybody, nobody can beat Granny's scones or your auntie's scones or something like that. And I think if you just take a little bit of time to research a couple of different recipe options, really, the secret for me is not to overwork the dough. People get a bit paranoid about how to work scone dough and things like this, and it's very much about doing it very efficiently and quickly and not overworking the flour. But for me, the iconic scone has got to have golden. I'd go for golden raisins or sultanas, and actually I'm also a big fan of cherry scones as well, and a bit of fresh vanilla from a pod rather than from essence, although you can get very good essence these days, into the crumb mix before it becomes a dough as you're rubbing in the flour, sort of thing. But a classic scone is the very foundation of an afternoon tea, as you know. And then after that, we've been playing around with lemon and lime mini drizzle cakes. We've done 3 or 4 versions of chocolate brownie, which I think people adore. But also on a classic afternoon tea, a fruit tartlet or something is always one that I love, maybe with creme patissier and raspberries. The thing is, we're not quite in the raspberry and strawberry season for England at the moment, although we might have a bit of problem this year, mightn't we, with people picking them. Might not be anybody to pick the fruit at the moment. So those would be my fave afternoon tea things to include. I think from a savoury point of view, a little bit of poached salmon with dill, cucumber, mayonnaise, possibly a little bit of horseradish in there with the mayonnaise as well, on granary bread or a granary roll, and then also a sort of a classic cheese one. I'm big on cheese at the moment because our cheese industry is dying, because of the way things are with restaurants and hotels. The cheese boards and the big uses of sort of what I call quality artisan cheeses is not happening at the moment. So I'm going to pick one in particular that is a favourite of mine that I know is suffering, and that's Mrs. Kirkham's Lancashire cheese. And the way I would use that is, I mean, you could actually do a cheese scone. I did one of those last week as well. I did it with cheddar, but if I can get my hands on some Mrs. Kirkham's, which I'm in the process of doing at the moment on online delivery, I'll do a Mrs. Kirkham's cheese scone. But if you're going to use it in another way, I'd do a little miniature rarebit, where you make a rarebit sort of, flour butter, make a roux sort of thing with the Kirkham's cheese grated into it, the mature Kirkham's, which has got a lovely sharp flavour. And then you can always put a little bit of beer and a little bit of Worcester sauce in there just to make it a little bit sharper, or a spoonful of mustard or whatever you want to do. And then just toast it onto some brioche bread or something like that. And, the other thing as well to do while you're at home, by the way, is bread making. I find that so therapeutic and so relaxing. Again, to get the time to make a fresh dough. And I made a garlic, rosemary and oregano loaf the other day, just messing about, because the rosemary was so lovely in the garden. And it's things like that this time for me, because it's quite stressful not being in the restaurant. It sounds mad, that, doesn't it? Most people think it's stressful being in the restaurant. I find that the most relaxing place to be. So when I'm at home, I'm looking for things to keep me occupied, when I'm not shouting at insurers who aren't paying us and things like that. But But yeah, bread making is a big one as well. So you could make your own bread and then your own sandwiches before you make the scones, the lemon drizzle, etc. So you've got an all-round homemade package, if you like. That would be a good one.